If you are a long-term F1 fan, you know how Mercedes rewrote the history books of Formula One over 8 seasons, becoming one of the most successful F1 teams in history, and how the sudden decline of the German team happened within a period of 6 to 8 months. If you are not a long-term F1 fan, that's okay too. We are going to discuss everything in this video, so stick with us to the end. Mercedes came up with the revolutionary idea of fighting with a podless unique body design for the 2022 season, and everything went wrong for the German team from the beginning of the 2022 season, dropping them to the midfield for the first time in the turbo hybrid era. Their W13 was aerodynamically very poor, bouncing a lot, making it harder to drive through the first half of the season. They were clearly lacking sufficient straight-line speed and cornering speed compared to the other top teams like Red Bull and Ferrari. Mercedes engineers brought many upgrades since the beginning to solve the issues of the W13, but unluckily most of those solutions exposed another issue in the car. Their recent upgrades in Barcelona and Silverstone are very significant, as expectations on those upgrades were heavy to bring back the old glory of the German team. Barcelona upgrades appeared to be successful, showing a decent performance compared to its rivals. But surprisingly, they struggled a lot in the next 2 races at Monte Carlo and Baku, where street race tracks are used for racing with a bumpy nature. Then FIA took a decision to introduce a race ban for teams who failed to solve the bouncing issue after the French GP, especially after considering the complaints from Mercedes drivers about physical pains due to the bouncing nature of the car. Then they were back with decent performance in Montreal after some minor upgrades. The most interesting upgrade package was introduced at Silverstone, which appears to be the most successful one among all those upgrade packages. Aerodynamic issues were solved to a greater extent through significant changes to the bodywork, and with those improvements, they seem to unleash the full potential of the car in races at Silverstone and Red Bull Ring. Some minor upgrades were introduced in Austria too, but they struggled to match the pace with Red Bull and Ferrari in France due to an unidentified issue, despite the floor upgrades. Both the Mercedes drivers Hamilton and Russell were angry about the bouncing nature of W13, which made it undrivable throughout the first half of the 2022 season. Their complaints regarding physical pains after driving a bouncing car were the main reason for the introduction of the race ban by the FIA to teams who were unable to address the bouncing issue after the French GP. Now they are happy with the latest upgrade to the car, which gave them a chance to fight back in the front more consistently. Expressing his thought regarding the success of recent upgrades, Lewis Hamilton said, "I am encouraged for sure. I am encouraged of course to see our performance. We weren't expecting it to be as close as that today." Both the drivers are without any hopes of either of the championships, and now they have a certain chance to fight back in the second half of the season. Sometimes they cannot win titles this year, but finishing second in the championship will be a huge boost to their confidence to prepare for the next season. Mercedes were extremely consistent in the last few race weekends, having more races finished at the top 5. They are the only team to score in every race weekend so far this season, and this is a good proof of their reliability, compared to Red Bull and Ferrari, who are dealing with unexpected technical issues regularly. Even during the Austrian GP, Carlos Sainz faced a huge engine failure which destroyed his F175 with a sudden fire, and the Austrian GP winner Charles Leclerc had to fight with a sticky throttle pedal in the last 15 laps. The effects of these reliability issues are not limited only to a result of one race. The best example is the grid penalty served by Carlos Sainz during the French GP, dropping him to the end of the racing grid as he had to take a new power unit for the French GP with severe damage caused by the engine failure in Austria. If Mercedes are able to unleash the full race pace of their W13 within the next few races, the reliability of Silver Arrows will be an added advantage over the other top 2 teams. Improvements in the Silver Arrows are now becoming a headache for both Red Bull and Ferrari, and the rival teams are now closely observing the development process of the German team, as there is a huge possibility of turning the battle at the front into a 6-car battle. Even though Mercedes drivers recorded a 2nd and 3rd finish at the end of the French GP, that was below their expectations. After displaying some decent performances in Britain and in Austria, Mercedes were targeted for a victory at the French GP, but since the beginning of the weekend, they were struggling with an unidentified problem. During qualifications, Hamilton finished in P4, 9/10 of a second behind the pole sitter Charles Leclerc. Russell too struggled a lot during qualifying, finishing 1.2 seconds behind pole sitter in the 9th position. These results were able to leave the Mercedes team scratching their heads throughout the race weekend without identifying the proper cause for this problem. According to Mercedes principal Toto Wolff, the team has conducted a raft of experiments throughout the weekend but failed to produce any answers. "We were slowly but surely working our way back to the front runners," said Wolff about Mercedes' recent progress. "There were good signs at Silverstone, and then we went to Austria, at a track where we're normally not competitive at all. And we could clearly see the signs why we were not competitive. But we were close. It's a 1-minute circuit and we were 3/10 off, which was acceptable. Then we brought quite a nice update package to Paul Ricard. The track is smooth. Off we go. Let's hunt them down. And no performance. Like, no performance. And we can't figure it out. Now they are heading towards Budapest next week, still continuing their winless streak continuously despite their upward trend of performance improvement. They struggle to deliver what they expected for the French GP, and Mercedes engineers are yet to identify the exact cause of the underperformance of the W13 at Circuit Paul Ricard. If they are unable to solve the issue in time, they will surely have to satisfy only with just a podium finish at Hungaroring without victory in the way that they continued throughout the season. The Brackley-based squad must find a way as soon as possible to blend the reliability with performance to unleash the full potential of the cars, at least to finish second in the standings at the end of the 2022 season. Do you think that the Mercedes team is capable of ending their winless streak in Hungary? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. And while you're down there, please subscribe to F101 so you don't miss any new videos.